Hey, I'm Ryan,
And I'm Molly, and we're from Mother Mother.
and we're hanging out with Rob on Front Row Live.
What's up, guys, and congratulations with the new album. I see that with this record, it's the first time you guys, or it seems like it's the first time you guys reunited with Howard since I think second or third album that you guys kind of worked with him. Can we talk about bringing Howard back on board for this eighth album, and how different was that experience and that dynamic between the band and Howard?
Yeah, it has been a while, so over a decade. And I think we've always wanted to return to that relationship over the years, but we just were waiting for the right album to do that with. And Inside felt appropriate because we wanted this record to be emotional and sound more like a feeling than sound like music. And Howard's the perfect guy for that. He's really emotional when he approaches engineering. Like he always asks how a mic feels versus how it sounds. And that was really the mandate whenever we track an idea. It was like, how does this make us feel? How does this stir us versus does it reach some kind of sonic, bar?
And the fact that you guys had this, as you mentioned, this decade apart from Ryan or from Howard, and you got to experience a little bit of other producers, and at the same time, Ryan, I see that you've also had producer credits with the band as well. So, first of all, what did you guys initially learn from your first experiences with Howard? And what did you bring from those experiences? What did you bring to the rest of your albums as you guys were recording, specifically this record?
You just tapped into it with Howard, and that's where you kind of learned everything right off the bat. Like they made those first two records together, and really, yeah, you've learned everything.
Yeah, I mean, again, like he's just such a feeling guy, and music is a feeling thing, and I think when you're trying to find your sound or trying to find, you want things to sound impactful and impressive and competitive, and sometimes along the way you can lose touch with that core purpose of music, and that is to move people. So it was nice to start with that mandate in place all those years ago, and I think we've certainly taken that into any new dynamic with another producer.
As you guys stepped into the creative process, or let's even start at the writing process of this album, just because listening to the record, I feel like it is kind of timely, specifically with Sick of the Silence, which is your new single right now. So, what really like kickstarted that writing process for this album? Was it because 2020 was such like a crazy kind of year, or did you guys have something along the same identity of this album in mind before any of this happened?
No, that certainly catalyzed the theme and catalyzed the album. Like we didn't really plan to make an album in 2020. It was going to be potentially a hiatus year for the band, but then the world changed and we were kind of stuck at home with all this idle time, and it just made good sense to invest in another Mother presentation. And the theme was loud in the world, and that felt like the right energy to draw from in order to find the songs. So it was certainly a byproduct of what was going on.
And did you guys find that the songs were just pretty much writing themselves because of everything that was going on, and specifically because you said you were considering more of a hiatus kind of year for the band?
I think initially it was like, oh God, we got to make a record.
I
And
wanted a break.
yeah, and it felt like what is this record? Forced creativity, like writing under a time frame, isn't always conducive. And so initially it sort of felt like there was pressure, and you're racing against a clock. But once the theme unveiled itself, that being a metaphor of what was going on for an inward journey, it was like, okay, this is a really clear framework. And now writing into that theme was fairly easeful. And I wouldn't say the songs wrote themselves. It's always hard, but it didn't lack clarity of purpose. And I think when there's clarity, then it's easier to write.
Yeah, it's good to have a theme.
Totally. Yeah, Molly knows that too, like with her art.
Yeah.
Um, creating artwork for a whole album campaign. It's one thing just to make cool images, but to, embody the message of the music, it's a lot easier for her when there's a clear instruction there.
Yeah.
As far as your artwork, Molly, did you start having these ideas for this artwork as the writing was going on, or is this something that kind of started to happen once you guys started to record and even finalize the tracks?
No, it's pretty much straight from the beginning. Ryan was like, "We're making another record," and I'm like, "Okay, that means I have to do the art." So he's like, "This is the theme," and so I just started brainstorming ideas and just made so much art, and we landed on the flames. But there's mountain loads of dark inside related art.
Yeah, there's like 20 amazing album covers that could have been the thing, any one of them.
Well, just because it's cool art doesn't make a good album cover. That's the frustrating thing. You're like, I love this, but it doesn't really work.
Yeah, you want like that little thumbnail on Spotify to scream I'm an album.
Yeah,
And
nowadays too, with like all the different like digital platforms, has to be small, has to be huge, has to be like in vector, has to be on a T-shirt. It's like, ugh,
Mhm.
but it worked out. I like
Mhm.
it.
That's actually a good point, just because there is so many different social media platforms, and each one asks for a different thing, and the way that the algorithms work is just another disaster in itself. So what kind of impact does the social media have with the band, as far as that creative process, and especially when you're getting ready to release a record?
Well, I think those tides are really changing heavily these days. And even in the past year, TikTok and social media has really stepped in as the driving promotional force behind music and so much other entertainment. And we've been introduced to a vast new community via TikTok and social media in recent times. So we're definitely awakened to this new dynamic with the virtual space. And, I think just like any band, you're trying to keep up, you're trying to keep fresh and do the best you can within it. But yeah, it's certainly something you can't ignore now, that you have to take part in and find a happy, healthy relationship with.
Yes, we've had the privilege of being before the internet almost in a way, and now like going through all the different stages of the platforms from MySpace now through to TikTok, and it's way more involved now. Like it's a huge part of the job.
Hmm. But easier too, in a sense. Like
Yeah.
before, we'd have to have a handy cam on the road, and then we'd have to upload the
Oh,
footage to a laptop
charge the camera.
in the hotel, and then like have a video editing app, and then post a video to our website.
Yeah,
And now it's like you just do it on your phone in 3 seconds and
it's pretty incredible.
worldwide.
Yeah, which is good and bad.
Yeah.
That
Yeah.
you can release something in 3 seconds before thinking.
Before changing your mind.
Yeah, oh no, that's out there.
Yeah.
Now, last year you guys got some success on TikTok, which kind of started to promote all over again songs from your second album. And the fact that you guys were also working on a record during that time, what kind of impact did you feel it had, one, on the band, and two, Ryan, personally, on your writing process, seeing that so many different ages, so many different demographics were now paying attention, or were now discovering Mother Mother?
Yeah, I think luckily we weren't aware of what was going on when the album was being written. I think if we knew, it might have choked the creative process and added a pressure, like we needed to recreate a magic that was age old. So I'm thankful that I was unwitting to what was going on when I was writing the songs, so the songs could be authentic and pertinent to the chapter in which they were written. Um, but once we did become enlightened, we were in the studio, and I think that did breathe a lot of like excitement and life. And
Yeah, purpose into it.
yeah, we're like, okay, we can have fun and channel the spirit of all these new fans when we're bringing these songs to life with the microphones. But yeah, it was sort of like this thing was happening just like, on the other side of the wall when we were writing it. And I think it's really lucky that we didn't hear those murmurs.
Now, the fact that the theme of the record was pretty, I mean, was as realistic as it gets. Like, we were all living these moments during the writing process. Is this a first time for you guys that you guys are writing music in a very timely fashion, as it was with the entirety of 2020, or do you normally write your music in um, as these events or themes are kind of occurring in your lives?
I mean, you kind of just have to do what the music wants to do. Some
Mm.
albums, it's just a collection of the best songs you could write for the sake of writing songs. But some albums, there's a theme, and it's born from a personal experience or a world event. I would say this is the most connected to a world event and pertinent issues.
Yeah, to the times.
Yeah. But yeah, you just kind of have to follow the creative spark. It kind of has a mind of its own. I think in looking back, I certainly like when an album takes a thematic shape more than when it's just songs for the sake of songs.
As far as the recording process or even the writing process, where do you guys feel you were challenged the most in the making of these 14 tracks?
Hmm. I'm always challenged. Or are you challenged? You're seldom challenged. Or you're challenged, but
No,
in a different way.
I'm
You just
challenged. I think the mixing was the hardest part. Writing
mm,
was purposeful and beautiful and not easy, but it flowed. And then the recording was really beautiful in the studio, but it was the mixing. It was like taking these ingredients and trying to prepare them and present them and level them and compress them and add the right effects. That was purgatorial almost. It took like 3 months, and that's a really long time to mix an album. That
yeah.
was where the challenge was.
So much second guessing can get in the way.
Yeah.
Now, as far as the current single, which is Sick of the Silence, um, what was that writing process for this song, and what initially kickstarted you writing this track, Ryan?
That song was one of the nice ones that just kind of wrote themselves.
Nice.
And during that time, I was trying to be true to the theme of self betterment and do some of that self betterment work and kind of go a bit more Spartan in my lifestyle regimen, a lot of meditation and just a lot of kind of ascetic living and stillness and quietude and trying to listen to the deeper places of yourself. And in doing that, I kind of got frustrated and sick of the self help, new age ideologies. And that song kind of came out of that frustration. Like, I'm sick of trying so hard to be a good person. I'm sick of listening so deeply. I just want to be distracted. I just want to scream over top of, this process. And it was kind of cathartic and kind of meant to be and just happened.
So once you wrote that song, and what was the next step? You presented it to the band, and then you guys started to work on the instrumentation from it, or is this when Howard stepped in and started to figure out the sonics of the entire song?
Well, the way I write is I kind of produce and demo as I write. So
Mm.
I'll program drums, I'll like get the synths going, and I'll try to realize the vision. And that song was very much realized in terms of what it should be in the final production. So it was kind of more a matter of taking this really clear framework that I developed and then bringing it to life as a band and with Howard. Whereas sometimes you bring in a song with just an acoustic guitar and it's like, okay, how do we paint this? But this was really directed from the demo.
Great demo.
Demos are like blessings and curses when they're good because they're really hard to recreate the magic.
Yeah.
But then also it's great to have a roadmap.
How do you, as artists, how do you not keep that demo? I mean, I'm sure it's easier now as you guys have 8 albums under your belt, but I'm sure like with that first record, those first demos were probably the world to you guys. But how are you guys able to still go back into the studio and re-record whatever tracks you were doing?
I think we've only gotten better at um, tuning into the way it makes us feel. So if the demo makes us feel something because it was born from a spontaneous magic, then we really try to serve that in the studio and not get too lost in the the perfection aim.
Yeah, it's a learning process, though. We've made a lot of records, so at this point, we're getting kind of better at it. Better.
Yeah, better at that. It's
Yeah.
we've certainly made songs where we go, oh, the demo just has a magic, and we got lost along the way in bringing it to the final production.
Yeah.
And that's always a bit of a bummer. You go, we should have
You just released the demo.
just released the demo. And I think too now with recording technology being so far along that you can record vocals and track things on your laptop at home that are of a quality that you just bring it into the mix when you're making the record, and you supplement it or you replace it or you keep it. And so the bones of the demo can survive the production because you can really do good work on a laptop.
Yeah.
Now, Molly, because there are countless records that you guys have done so far, for you, and I'm sure this goes with all members of the band, but for you personally, like, how do you keep your keys feeling fresh every single time, and how do you not run out of content?
My keyboards.
Yeah.
I just am told what to do. Oh yeah, Jasmine's more of the keyboard player. I'm more of like pads and sounds, which come from what the music we record is, and it's like after the music is recorded, then I figure out what sounds work best and what places work best. So I don't know if that's fresh or just the best I can do.
I think like in terms of synths and keyboards and those textures, a lot of that stuff is kind of illustrated in the demo that I make, and where Molly and Jasmine come in with their unique autonomy is more vocally. It's like, okay, how do you guys interpret this song vocally? Where does it sit in your being? And that's where it gets really collaborative.
With a voice like this.
Yeah, with a voice like that. Like when we first started the band, Molly wasn't a singer. I wasn't a singer. I was more of a guitar player, but I started writing songs that had to be sung. And I was living with Molly, and I just knew from her talking voice how unique and special it was that it would translate into great harmony singing. And so, that was the proposition. It's like, hey, sing these songs. It's like, but I'm not a singer. But you are, because your voice is just so special, just when you speak.
I'm very impressionable.
Now, lastly, during the process of this recording, during the recording process, how would you say that Howard had you guys step out of your comfort zone to try different things for this record?
I mean, I wouldn't say that I don't think that was even necessary. It wasn't like we needed to push him and he needed to push us. We just needed to be the best we could um, in the realm of our strengths, and then try to find a synergy. There's always like, especially when vocal coaching.
He's a great vocal coach.
Yeah, like,
Yeah.
like, hey,
Very tender.
dig deeper though. Tender, but also like really pushes you to
Yeah.
pull from a deeper place. And so that's always the case. And that's what a good producer should do the best, I think, is bring out the most emotional vocal delivery. And Howard is exceptionally good at that.
Amazing. Well, congratulations with the new record, Inside, and thank you so much for taking the time to talk to me.
Thank
Thanks
you.
for talking to us.
Have a great day.